Page 135, Scarborough Fair. On page 134, they're showing you and discussing the key of D minor. D minor has one flat. It is a relative minor to F major, which has one flat, which is why they're relatives. They show you the fingering at the bottom of the page for this scale. I would highly encourage you to learn that. We are using the harmonic minor, which means the seventh step of the scale is going to be raised or taken up one key on the keyboard, or a half a step. I would encourage you to go do my video on D minor. Do the beginner portion of it. Learn the scale. We'll get to the primary chords eventually. As far as Scarborough Fair goes, in the right hand, you're starting out in a D position. And then in the second line, in the second measure, your thumb's on the D to start with. It's tied from the previous measure. Then you got to reach up to get the second finger on the A. Now the D is ending one phrase, so you're going to lift up after the D and then go back down for the A to start the next phrase. So we get a little bit of silence between them. And you can move your hand during that. You don't have to reach up in this key. You don't have to connect them. In fact, you shouldn't connect them. And you should be fine there. Then on the third line, in the third measure, well, start with the second measure, okay, with the half note C. You play the A with the second finger, and then in the next measure, is they show it with the third finger. It's fine. It's not the only fingering that can be used, but I'm not going to bother to change it. Just here. Cross over for the next measure for the E, and that puts you in position for the last line. Now in the last line in the second measure, you got to cross over the thumb again, because you're the E, D, and then cross over. They say second finger, and then third finger. I have reservations about that, but it works in this case. This is a fairly slow piece, so I think we're fine. I would not use that fingering if it were fast. Now, the left hand basically is just doing the chords, and you will find out eventually that these are actually some of the primary chords. And as I play these, I'm not using the fingers so much as I'm just transferring the weight, and I'm rolling. It's a very slight movement. I'm exaggerating here, but it's a very slight movement. Very slight movement. The fingers stay right down on the keys. Now, you have phrases in the right hand, right, in the melody. You don't in the left hand. So you're going to separate the melody in the right hand between the phrases, but the left hand stays connected. You don't separate any of those. For instance, in the second line, second measure, you're finishing a phrase here, and then you're going to lift up in the right hand. So just for a moment, only the left hand is sounding. Okay. At the end of the line, on the second line, again, it's between two phrases. You're here. You lift up the right hand to end the phrase, but the left hand still stays down. There's no silence in the left hand. And that's the way we work it. Pedaling. I need to adjust their pedaling. They're showing legato pedaling throughout. There's only like one measure in the third line where they don't show any pedaling, and that's because when you come down on these notes, if you pedal that, it would get really blurred and blah. So they lift the pedal up correctly so you don't get blurred. But I would like to suggest an alternate pedaling so we can hear the phrasing. I think the phrasing is important. Otherwise, why bother, I guess? I'm not sure. Now, a quick review of the pedaling that should be used, I think, is right at the beginning when you start. You're going to push the note down first and then the pedal. You're going to leave it down till the last measure of the first line, and then after I play the first notes in that last measure, I'm going to lift the pedal up and put it right back down. So it's this way. The last two measures of the first line is here. Now, to change so I can hear the break in the phrasing, second line, second measure. I suggest you lift the pedal with the right hand. Just keep it simple, all right? So when the right hand comes up, so does the pedal. And you can leave the pedal up if you want until the next measure. Or, you experiment and see what you think. Go ahead and put the pedal down right after you play the second beat in the second measure. So the first two measures of the second line is here. Or this way. It's up to you what you do. The last measure in the second line, lift the pedal up with the right hand so we end the phrase. And then put it down immediately after you play the last beat in that measure. The reason is because we got to play the same key in the next measure and we don't want any silence between them. And the pedal will help us on that. Because when you play a repeated note on piano, without pedal, you get silence. It's the way it is. So we put the pedal down immediately after playing the D. And that way, when we play the half note D in the next line, the sound continues. The last two measures of the second line, the first measure of the third line, would be this. Third line, last measure, or between the two last measures. Again, lift the pedal up with the right hand so we get a break between the phrases. So the last two measures of the third line is here. Remember, you keep the left hand down so the sound doesn't stop there, it only stops in the right hand. When you repeat there at the bottom, you see the repeat sign sends you back up to the top on the reverse repeat sign. Again, lift the pedal up with the right hand because we want to break between the two phrases. So to play that measure right before the repeat sign at the bottom, going back up to the top to the reverse repeat sign, to play that measure, those two measures is this. I'll leave it up to you. After you've repeated and you're going to go on and play the last two measures, they're showing you keep the pedal down throughout. It's fine if you want to do that. So to do the last three measures is here. Leave the pedal down throughout the whole thing. It just keeps it simple, it's fine. While we're there, at the end, those last two measures, there's an 8 VA above it, which means instead of here, we're going to play it an octave higher up here. They have a retard there, but I ignore that when I'm playing with a metronome, and the dotted half note at the end with a fermata, I'm going to hold for 6 counts instead of 3 because of the fermata. Now, there's a note at the top above the right there where the reverse repeat sign is, says second time 8 VA. That means that after you repeat it, and you're going to play it again, the right hand, not the left, just the right hand, goes from here to here. So when you repeat it, you play the right hand up here. Now at the top of the page, they're introducing another dynamic sign, and that is the pianissimo, or the PP, the double P. Means very soft. It's a little softer than soft. It's not as soft as you can get. It's just a little softer than soft. At the end, that is the pianissimo. Play it as softly as you can. Basically, that's really not what it is, but at a beginner level, you'll learn to play softer. Well, I shouldn't say that. Play it softer than soft. You decide what that is. Well, however soft you've been playing, the left hand has been soft the whole time. Just at the end, the right hand has to go softer than that, and the left hand has to go softer than that still. So it's like, how soft can you get it? Now, it's a good experiment. Some techniques on playing soft. On an acoustic piano, I haven't tested this on electronics, so I don't know. The slower you push the key down, the softer the note. So you have to experiment on just how slowly you can push a key down and get it to sound with each finger. All the fingers are different. Well, a way to help you do that is instead of coming straight down, go down at an angle, because the overall vertical descent going down is slower if you do it at an angle. So you can slide into the keyboard. One way of doing it. Some people will pull out, come out. If you come out, raise the wrist as you do it. Very fluid wrist. And see if you can do it. When you have a chord in the right hand, raise the wrist as you come out. You have to experiment, and then different pianos are different, their touches are different, the key action's a little different, the adjustments are different. You have to experiment. And as I said, I don't know about an electronic piano. Again, you'd have to. I'm sure this technique of raising the wrist and coming down this way would help you play softer. Having said all that, let's give this thing a try and see what happens. 3-4 times, I'll give us 3 counts. Hands are going to start out in D position, I guess. All right, here we go. Foot's on the pedal. 1, ready, go. Repeat. Hold, 2, 3, off.